Okay, quick video because it's time to talk about seat swivels and a little bit of knowledge sharing, experience sharing. A few years ago, I was building out my 2020 Mercedes Sprinter 140. As part of my build plan, I needed to be able to swivel both of my front seats, and unfortunately, I was not able to source a van with the factory seats that swiveled. So I did some research. I found a couple of good low profile swivels out there. One Alpine Mechanisms, made out of Colorado Springs, Colorado. The other Scopema, made from who knows where, but sourced by quite a few kind of upfitting companies, parts companies. And so after kind of going through some feedback, reviews, which there weren't a ton at the time, 3 years ago, I decided to be responsible and save a few $100 and go Scopema. And here I am 45,000 miles later to offer some feedback, because I just spent some money to replace these Scopemas with the Alpine Mechanisms. So the issue that I have going on is just a rattle. It started maybe 8 to 10,000 miles into having these swivels where the passenger seat, if nobody was in them, would just kind of start to rattle. It developed a little play. But it wasn't that big of a deal because most of the time I have someone in my passenger seat, and when someone is in that passenger seat, I wasn't getting any of that. 6,000 miles later, the rattle started with somebody in there, and it was now becoming noticeable in both the driver and the passenger. And now it's to the point where it's a freaking rattle can. And functionality, they're still great. But if you care about, rattling, it's become an issue for me, and just not something that I want to have always consistently happening in the vehicle. So I went ahead and purchase the Alpines, and I'm getting ready to install them. But before I do that, I want to show a little bit about what's going on. So if you can hear, that's every little bump, every little turn, and unfortunately happening both in the driver and the passenger. These swivels have been great in terms of their profile and functionality, but anytime the vehicle's moving, you get a lot of this. So we're looking at the passenger side Alpine Mechanism seat swivel installed, and what I have to show you, just looking at this overall height right there, right? That's the comparable measurement to the Scopema, which is still here on the driver's side. So you can clearly see the Scopema sits probably twice as high, if not a little bit more, than the Alpine Mechanisms. So with the Alpines, you do truly get the lowest profile aftermarket seat swivel. In addition to that, the design is such that it eliminates a lot less play and metal on metal rattle. Okay, we have a quick comparison here of the Alpine Mechanism on the left and the Scopema on the right. I want to point out what I think is the biggest difference in terms of eliminating rattle and just overall flex of these plates is that this is a much larger diameter, and you have a series of plates here covering a much larger surface area, and you have multiple layers of metal to like a plastic or a urethane to metal. And so what that's allowing is the metal to move but eliminate any rattling, any metal on metal rattling. Secondly, it's just a much larger plate, so of course it's going to be heavier, but it's also going to be stronger and more stable. Scopema, on the other hand, is a little bit lighter, and you have a smaller overall plate, but most importantly, much smaller diameter here. So you're allowing, with a smaller surface area, you're allowing the possibility of these plates flexing. And what I've found, specifically what the problem has been, is you see those little pins or discs in there, those are metal. And those are locking into each other to reduce the flex of these two plates while a person is in that seat. However, because they're metal and metal is a wear item, specifically on these little features, we're starting to get rattle from almost every single one of those, which I think is the primary reason for the rattling to continue to get worse. Now, obviously, a nice bonus here is the Scopemas are much larger. They measure actually exactly 1 inch of height, and you'll see the Alpine Mechanism on the left is 1/2 inch. So, hey, 1/2 inch matters, and I'm excited for this upgrade. All right, Scopema out, Alpine Mechanism in, easy install. Really wish I would have just gone this route the first time, but you can't really win them all. I did do a test drive, did some kind of high-speed bumps, turns, the things that were really rattling, the Scopema stuff and the Alpine Mechanisms, tight like a tiger. So, you know, hey, we'll see how they work over time, but I'm more confident in these, much more confident. There's some decent long-term reviews of these, and just by design, I can tell they're going to be better. Wish I would have done all this beforehand, but here we are. If you're at this point in the build or considering some seat swivels, hopefully this helps you. And hey, if you want to buy a couple of Scopema seat swivels, hit me up.